Happy New Year, everyone. It's Ian Simmons from Kicking the Seat, which you can tell by looking at the handy dandy branding up there. I'm back with another installment of Don't Read the Comments, the brief little mini-sode where I go through the comments that people have left me on YouTube or Kicking the Seat, aka kickseat.com, and I just go through them. As I mentioned in the first round, I didn't used to get a whole lot of comments on the website or on YouTube, but for some reason, the last couple of months, comments have been flooding in. Now, again, I realize that flooding in means different things to myself as opposed to a big time YouTuber. But yeah, I appreciate the feedback, and getting everything addressed in a little video like this is much less time consuming and far more fun for me, and hopefully for you, and especially you if you're one of the people who submitted a comment, than just typing something out. So we're gonna jump right into it here. Give me a second to load up my handy dandy StreamYard view. Yep, we're actually going to look at the comments together today and read through them. I love technology. All right, so the first one comes from. Wait, let me back up a second because I should lay out the rules. The rules are these are any comments that I've received on kickseat.com or YouTube that I have not replied to. Now, because I've taken to not replying to anything, this basically encompasses any comments that have come in since the last video. So this was from like 12 days ago or so. We've got a comment on the West Side Story remake that I did the episode with Armand White. Great to see Armand again and hear his review. I agree. I always love having Armand on. I know he's kind of a divisive figure in the world of film criticism, but I love his voice. I love everything he's taught me in the year plus since we've been having conversations about movies, and I think he's just an all-around good friend. So let's see. We've got another comment on West Side Story. Now this has a little bit of a chain to it. So left-wing sheep cry racism where there isn't any. Right-wing sheep, right-winged sheep, interesting, cry wokeness where it doesn't apply. Someone replied with wokeness in quotes, and yeah, then someone else replied with wokeness and a laughing face. So I imagine that the first commenter is saying that there was not any racism in the movie, and the right wing person is saying there was wokeness and it doesn't apply. I don't know. I'm a little bit fuzzy on this, which is the joy of reading the comments. Now, wokeness, the second quote comment in quotes there, I assume means that that person does not believe that wokeness exists, or they're just calling out the fact they like the fact that wokeness was in quotes in the original comment. I have no idea. But then the last person to comment said wokeness with a smiley face. So you think that's funny or the concept is funny? I have no idea. I addressed the idea of kind of wokeness in West Side Story in the last video, so you can check that out. I do believe that to a certain degree there is a bit of that in West Side Story, possibly a lot in some aspects. And your definition of wokeness, that's kind of all subjective. I think Steven Spielberg, some of the things he had said in advance of the movie and then after the movie could lead one to believe that there was more of an agenda behind the storytelling, as well as a screenwriter has said similar things, tweaking the story to make it more contemporary, which I guess is fine. It's their movie. They can do whatever they want. But in terms of remaking a classic and injecting modern day politics into it, it's kind of an iffy proposition for me. For those who are saying, what's wrong with that? I would say, just imagine a scenario in which a conservative filmmaker, I know what's that, were to remake West Side Story and put a sort of a MAGA message into the narrative. How would you feel about injecting politics into a movie then? Some people might call that whataboutism. I do too, and I'm frankly okay with that. Moving on, we have White Christmas. I lived in Chicago for 20 years. I saw it at the Music Box. Sorry, he said, Darren Wiggins, by the way. I saw it at the Music back in 2013. Wonderful? Well, let me just say, first of all, I believe you are referring to the Music Box because Pat McDonald of HollywoodChicago.com and I discussed the Music Box screenings, which are an annual tradition, during our White Christmas episode from a couple years back. And yeah, Music Box has an annual viewing celebration, and I hope to go to one of these years. As you might have known from watching that episode that we did, I watched it for the first time on home video, and I would love to go see this on the big screen, of course, when things get back to quote unquote normal. And wonderful, I imagine, again, this is pure speculation. I think that should have been an exclamation point, because wonderful, I can only assume that yeah, it would be wonderful to see that movie at the Music Box. And wonderful as it applies to White Christmas, I would again emphatically say yes, it is a wonderful movie, one we will be discussing again real soon. The unforgettable Armand. Once again, West Side Story is the MVP of these comments lately. And it's nice to see some positivity mixed in with the reactions, because they have not always been such. Next, we have a look at a comment on the Awfully Great episode, which I'm hoping to do more of these in 2022. It was a series of one at this point, looking at movies that are, some people call guilty pleasures, but I don't have guilty pleasures. I like what I like, I love what I love, while also acknowledging that sometimes what I love is terrible. Not so in the case of Cool as Ice, the Vanilla Ice vehicle from 1991, which celebrated 30 years last year, and did a great little episode with Mike Crowley. And the Cinematic Mind said funky lyrics. Again, a lot of these comments don't have a lot of context or even sentence structure around them, so I don't know if Mr. or Ms. Cinematic Mind is referring to the lyrics of Mr. Ice, Mr. Robert Van Winkle, or to the lyricism of the review that Mike and I did. So some things will just have to remain a mystery. West Side Story again. Tony says, love the dancing in West Side Story. It's a big part of what makes the original so memorable. I can watch numbers like America, Cool, Mambo, and the complete opening sequence again and again. Disappointed that White doesn't appreciate its ballet-like style. Yeah, and I think this is something that Armand and I discussed in the episode. A lot of what our kind of gripes with the movie were sort of the messaging and the politics and the tweaking of the original story and the characters that kind of got in the way of the craftsmanship, the artistry that Spielberg and his very talented cast engaged in. I don't want to speak for Armand completely on that, but yeah, I mean, technically, West Side Story 2021 is a pretty powerful film, but it's just the stuff going on underneath that kind of rubbed us the wrong way. Astute question / observation from our review of Watermelon Man, the great satire by Melvin Van Peebles, who passed away recently. Pat McDonald and I also talked about that. We also reviewed more recently Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song, which you should check that out, the movie and a review of it. But yeah, Rosemary Papa said, who cares? Exactly. I don't know. All right. The Gurch on our review of Hammerland, The Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires, which is a more recent show and the last Hammerland of 2021. For those of you who don't know, Aaron Christensen of Horror 101 with Dr. AC and I spent 2021 going through all the Dracula and Frankenstein Hammer films, and this was the one we closed out on. It wasn't my favorite, but yeah, the Gurch says, awesome. This is perfect timing for me as I had some free time to fill, and now it's Hammer time. This was about a week ago, so hopefully, Gurch, you've watched the movie, you've watched our review of it, and you approve. I certainly do. Well, of our review of it, not necessarily the movie, because it was fun to talk about, not so much fun to watch. All right, next we have the Screaming Gamer. This is a bit of a flashback, and one of the things I love about YouTube is sometimes you'll get comments on videos from a while ago, and this is a commentary I did on the movie Onward, in which a number of, I think it was 1 Million Moms, an organization I'd never heard of before, was boycotting the Disney Pixar movie Onward due to its inclusion of an LGBTQ character in the film. Screaming Gamer has a different take and said, I skipped it due to its relation to necromancy or necromancy. I never could figure out how to pronounce that word. Now, I thought I knew what necromancy was, but in preparation for this video, I decided, I should, if I'm going to speak about this, I should do it, in an informed manner. So I looked it up on dictionary.com, which is, I assume, a reputable source. Noun, necromancy, a method of divination through alleged communication with the dead, black art. Or two, magic in general, especially that practiced by a witch or sorcerer, sorcery, witchcraft, conjuration. Here's the thing. I know Onward, there is the main plot is it's two kind of troll mystical teenagers who want to bring their troll mystical dad back from the dead to spend some time with them, for like a one last day kind of a scenario. And they end up bringing back his legs, and through a series of misadventures, they try and bring him all the way back. And it's a very touching, really funny movie. It was one of my top films of the year it came out, and the last Disney Pixar movie to be released theatrically, sadly enough. But skipped it due to its relation to necromancy. I can only assume it's the black art of bringing people back from the dead, or maybe it's the whole troll analogy. Maybe it's the magic in general definition. Maybe you have your own definition of what necromancy is. But I can only imagine, Screaming Gamer, that if you are objecting to pretty much any of the things I just laid out, you don't watch a lot of movies, because that seems to be a plot. Magic, resurrection of the dead, communicating with the dead. Yeah, that's very strange. It's kind of like when I had a brother-in-law once who told me he doesn't. I asked him about Alien, the Ridley Scott movie, and he said he doesn't watch sci-fi movies. Alrighty, I do want to ask though. You ever see The Passion of the Christ? Moving on. After speculating that she was anorexic and then laughing was cringy, she died on August 30th, 1981, at the age of 60. This, of course, refers to Vera Ellen, one of the stars of White Christmas, which Pat McDonald of Hollywood Chicago and I reviewed a couple years ago, as mentioned in an earlier comment. This person takes issue with what I recall is a flippant remark or some laughter that Pat and I enjoyed at the expense. Admittedly, we're not proud of these things, but we record these things as a free flowing conversation, and sometimes during free flowing conversations, people say things they're not proud of. I'm not embarrassed by it, because I think in the context of that chat, it was pretty funny to us. But we were remarking on the fact that Vera Ellen had the skinniest legs on any performer we'd ever seen in a movie. And she did a lot of dance numbers where she wasn't worrying a whole lot in terms of covering up those legs. And she's very talented, or was, I should say, and very impressive in the movie. It was just kind of jarring for us to see someone who looked frankly unhealthy. Now, I didn't know the context of her being, well, actually, no, that we speculated that she was anorexic. Quaz 908 said that she died in 81 at the age of 60, without mentioning if it was due to anorexia, and I have not looked that up. So I can't tell what she died from. She might have been perfectly healthy and just, maybe filled out or something as she got older. But anyway, I'm not going to speak ill of the dead. I actually didn't know that she was dead at the time we recorded that conversation. So I would say lighten up, but, some people react to humor differently than others. As evidenced by my recent conversation with the Eden brothers on the 90 Under 90 podcast. I'm going to do a quick plug for them, where we talked about the movie The Aristocrats, which, if you don't know what that documentary is and you don't know what the joke is, I highly recommend you check it out. Maybe not you, Quaz 908. Brian Trena, commenting on the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 1. The Boba Fett Book Club is our weekly live stream series we do every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Central, talking about the Disney Plus Star Wars series, Book of Boba Fett. The debut episode, which I wasn't that impressed with, Brian didn't sound like he was that impressed with either. And Brian is a lifelong Star Wars fan. I know, because Brian and I actually went to art school together back in the day. And now he's a fan of the YouTube channel, which is awesome to see. My hype train has been derailed, but the opinions expressed were well said from a certain point of view. Great KTS episode, and I love the from a certain point of view, because that is also, for those astute sci-fi Star Wars nerds, a Star Wars reference. Lastly, we have Big Swifty 500, the Hammerland superfan, as I like to call him. I don't know. Big Swifty does not have a profile picture. I've never interacted with Big Swifty in quote unquote real life, just in terms of comments on YouTube. So I don't know if Big Swifty is a man or a woman, or how they identify. But yeah, I'll just say thank you for commenting and participating in the channel. It means a lot, especially to know that we're entertaining you with our commentary on the Hammerland movies. So, Ian, you're in for a treat. Vampire Lovers is my second favorite Hammer film from their second phase, the Elstree period, I guess you could call it, right behind Dracula AD 1972. So take that for what it's worth. Vampire Lovers is totally gloomy, dark, and gothic with some really eerie scenes. Ingrid Pitt is phenomenal, and it has the most beautiful Hammer horror queen of all time, the lovely Madeline Smith. I'm dying to see this one on Blu-ray. Well, you're in luck, Swifty, and I think this is what you're referring to because at the end of our Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires episode, Aaron and I teased that we would be talking about the Vampire Lovers in January. So that's coming up towards the end of this month, and I'm hoping I dig it. Again, we're going to be doing a new season of this show, a new year called Son of Hammerland. We're going to look at some of the more off-brand offerings. We are easing into it by talking about another vampire movie. That's true, but the Vampire Lovers, I'm jazzed to see it, especially since it's your favorite Hammer film from the second phase. That's pretty exciting. So thank you for commenting. And thank all of you for indulging me as we go through these comments and these questions. I love Who Cares, a question that I can't actually answer. But yeah, if you want to participate in an upcoming show, I mean, I'm not going to have you on or anything, but I will read your comments. So if you have any comments or questions, you can leave them on the Kicking the Seat YouTube channel. You can go to kickseat.com. Leave feedback there. Replies are guaranteed, even if just here's a bit of advice. If the questions make sense, the answers are more likely to make sense. I like comments just to show my bias here. They're more in the vein of Big Swifty. Whole sentences, enthusiasm, courtesy. Be rude if you want, but at least, type something out where I can understand where you're coming from instead of just dropping these kind of like, 2 sentence bombs. But, I'm not going to discriminate. You guys, send me whatever you want and I will reply. So thank you very much. Please, if you liked this content, like and subscribe, share this video with your friends. If you didn't like this content, leave me a comment and we can talk about it in a future episode of Don't Read the Comments. But for now, I'm just going to say thank you for watching. Again, I'm Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. And until next time, whenever that is, whatever that is, thanks and take care.